So when I say that Ruby and Kevin and Jody and Connections have been destroying our lives offline for the last 3 years, that is exactly what they've been doing.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And well, two of Ruby Franke's sisters have spoken out. I guess they felt that they needed to clear up one or two misconceptions about the whole situation. I guess they're getting a little bit of hate from various sides, and they wanted to give their side of the story. Now, Bonnie, who has previously spoken out and did not come across all that well and actually deleted that initial video, has come back on to say that she is not her sister's crimes.
This feels like a very impossible video to make. I know that my words will be used against me.
Just wondering why she's locked herself away in a cupboard to film this, to be honest. Does she think that we're going to try and track her down to see where she is right now? Because that's what we do. But anyway, yeah, why? Just why?
I also know that my words may help people understand me a little. I can only speak for myself, and I will only be speaking for myself, other than the judge has asked us not to speak on certain topics that I will not be touching on. What my family and I have gone through the last couple of weeks is the worst thing that has ever happened.
Well, yeah, I really hope so, to be honest with you. This is quite a negative thing that's happened in your life. I would imagine that would be the worst thing, unless you have other things in that closet that you're hiding in right now.
To us, it is, I spent the first week in complete shock, where I felt my body and my mind and my emotions were completely paralyzed because of the just absolute shock of all of this. The more I learn, my feelings are turning more to anger. I am mad. I am mad at what has happened. I am beyond disgusted, and I feel like it makes me tremble. It makes me tremble because it is unheard of. It's truly unbelievable. Something that
See, right now, I'm not sure if she's upset and she thinks it's unbelievable and it's unheard of because of what her sister did, the fact that her sister did it, or the upset about what she did to the kids, or maybe a bit of both. I guess maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky and a bit harsh on her. Anyway, let's see what she has to say, because my opinions may surprise you as we go on.
pride myself on, something that I enjoy doing, is being transparent. And I cannot be fully transparent with certain aspects of this. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand how the system works. The first thing that I want to say is that we have kept quiet for 3 years on the topic of our sister Ruby and Jody and Kevin and Connections. That is what we have stayed quiet about. We did not know what they were doing because, like we said, we were cut off. We did not have access to anyone.
Just to further emphasize how they were actually cut off, her sister Julie also touched on this point.
Anyway, so 3 years ago, Ruby and I hung out bottling tomatoes, and then a few weeks later, crap hit the fan and she left the family. And she didn't even call me to say, hey, you know, Julie, you're doing this and this, and I don't like it. You're living your life in distortion, so I'm gonna have to take some time away from you. No, literally nothing. She did call my mom and yelled at my mom on the phone for 45 minutes and accused her.
So it does sound as if Ruby just literally upped and left and said nothing to the family and didn't explain why, just upped and left and just didn't contact them whatsoever. So to be fair, it sounds legitimately like they didn't know and they didn't have the opportunity to make anything right or anything like that. Ruby was truly in her own world, distorted, if you like, by the queen of distortion, that is a Jodie Hildebrandt.
My thoughts towards Ruby and Jodie and Kevin and connections is that it was all bullcrap. It was complete indoctrination of this thing that they created. I don't agree with how extreme they are on everything. I knew they were weird. I knew that they were off.
And again, Julie better emphasises how they felt and what they thought about connections and Jodie.
We were a typical family. She was getting some therapy counseling because their family needed it, which I think is great. However, I think you need to get it from a great source. Read the reviews. Jodie Hildebrandt and her website or therapy style, I don't know what you want to call it, connections, was not a great resource. And we all saw it. We all felt weird about this Jodie lady. We weren't comfortable with it. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teachings Ruby was bringing to the family functions, and we were this close to telling her, if you come to our family events anymore, we do not want to hear what you were learning through connections because we don't like it. We never did say that to her, but we thought it.
And to be fair to them, she did say something on her vlog. I think it was in a comment, and she mentioned about how this was a very weird cult-like situation that Ruby was in at the moment, and, you know, she wasn't happy with it. She did say, you know, so it wasn't like people didn't know that they were not comfortable with the situation at that time.
Those are the things that we kept quiet about, because what was I going to say? What was I going to do? I was not going to come out and publicly say that I don't like my sister and I don't like what she's doing and I think she's weird. That is what we kept quiet about. It wasn't until about a year ago when we were able to reconnect with Sherry. Again, we kept that quiet. We never came out and said anything. You guys saw us together, and those were little glimpses when Sherry was ready to allow us to show those glimpses with her permission. And it was then that we were learning slowly bits and pieces of more.
And again, Julie also touched on the reconnection with Sherry.
I was very fortunate to have been able to reach out to her daughter Sherry once she was an adult, and we were able to form a really close, strong relationship, which I am grateful for. And it was then that I learned more about Ruby, and it was then that Sherry had learned about lies that had been told to her.
And that was great, actually, that they were all able to reconnect together to at least try to get some semblance of understanding about what was going on, because now they had their side where they'd been blocked out of their entire family and what had been going on behind the scenes, which they were not previously privy to, and now they were getting a proper understanding where they can formulate a plan about how to move forward from there and try and get the kids safe.
And that's where the part of behind the scenes, we did everything that we could. We did everything legally that we could do. And for those that were saying that they'd go in and bust down doors and do whatever it took to end up in jail, because from jail, I can't do anything.
So I also want to say that I was one of those. I put out my video, as many of you may have seen, about Bonnie and reacting to what she said, and I may have come across like I was blaming the sisters. Now, do I take that back? Not entirely, but I will retract a little bit the things that I may have may have thought or may have said. Now, I do think that those kids were vastly let down by every adult in their life. But in the situation where would the sisters have been able to do anything? I don't think so. I think she's right. I don't think they could have actually gone to, say, Jodie's house and bust down the door and tried to get the kids out. I don't think they could have done that because they are only sisters in this case. I think Kevin is another matter, and Bonnie goes on to tell us about him in a second.
So I still stand by what I said, is that I did everything that I could with the knowledge that I had and within the legal rights to Ruby and Kevin. The one person that could have done something within his legal right was Kevin. We had zero contact with him. It was Kevin's job to check in on things, and he did not.
So the one thing I really did not expect from Bonnie's video here was to hear the words, Kevin could have done something, but he did not. So she's basically saying what the majority of people are actually thinking, that Kevin could have done something. What he was doing for that entire time, God only knows, right? There's a number of theories floating around. Was Kevin forced out? Did he walk away? Was he brainwashed? Did he have any recourse to go and see his kids? Was he allowed in? Was he whatever? I don't know. But the problem is, right? Also, I've heard it mentioned, was he afraid of Ruby? So whatever the situation is, though, I think we can all agree that Kevin should have done more. Absolutely. He did have the legal right to go and get his kids if he wanted to, or at least go and see his kids. It doesn't appear like he did. So why didn't he? I think that is a very important question to ask. Why didn't he go and see his kids? I know they lived quite a distance away at Jodie's, but even still, you would go and see them, wouldn't you? It's not that far. It's a few hours as far as I'm aware, but it's not like in a different country, and they are your children. You would want to see them, and most of all, you want to make sure they're okay, because you know the type of person that Jodie is, and you know that they're not being treated the best, right? So you wouldn't want your kids to be living with Jodie. Jodie has no legal right to your children, so you would go. I'm sorry that there's no real explanation that explains what Kevin was doing this whole time and why he couldn't go and see his kids.
So when I say that Ruby and Kevin and Jodie and connections have been destroying our lives offline for the last 3 years, that is exactly what they've been doing.
And that's very interesting again, the fact that she lumps Kevin in with the whole connections Ruby and Jodie thing. So Kevin has been destroying their lives behind the scene as well. It's not been just those others. So, I mean, maybe they were trying to reach out to Kevin, go and check on the kids, and Kevin didn't. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
Causing turmoil within our family. We would talk in circles because nothing made sense. Nothing made sense of what they were saying, of what they were doing. And it was off the wall. We couldn't make sense of what they were doing and why. And this is where my anger comes in. Their actions have cast the worst light on me, on other members of our family. And I have decided that I am no longer allowing them to have any control over what I do.
See, I actually agree with her. You know, I mean, I know it sounds strange, but I don't like her because of what she does and the amount of exploitation she does with her own kids. You know, that's another story, obviously. but she shouldn't be held accountable for her sister's actions because she did not do the crimes her sister did. We need to remember that, I think.
I didn't post because I physically couldn't. I physically could not turn my camera on. I physically could not come up with a structured thought in my mind. I felt completely out of my mind.
See, whilst I have an ounce of sympathy for her and what she's going through and the obvious hate that she's been receiving, she kind of starts to lose it a little bit when she talks about, well, I couldn't turn my camera on, I couldn't film my kids and things like that. You know, I think that's not really relevant and doesn't really garner sympathy in the way that you want it to, because it's not a good thing that you need to be able to film your kids to make money.
This has hurt every single person in our family, and watching it hurt my husband makes me mad. I have stood by Joel's side, building our home, and it sounds incredibly selfish to, given all the facts, be thinking of our house. But also, I have watched him put his heart and soul and every waking minute for the last couple of years on this project, and I will not allow Ruby and Kevin and Jody and Connections to take away one more thing. And so we wake up in the morning, we take our kids to school, and we come and we work on the house, and in the meantime and in between, we do everything that we can to be involved, but there is only so much that we're allowed to do. So you better believe that for my husband, we will push forward, we will move on. Not because it feels good in any way, it feels horrible. It feels horrible coming into the house and working on things and even thinking of anything else, all while every news outlet, every national news outlet, people coming out of the woodworks making claims that are just so beyond ridiculous that there is no comment. It is so stupid that there is no comment. 3 years ago, Ruby and Kevin cut our family off, and eventually they cut Kevin's family off as well. And I thought that was going to end my mom. She literally had a heart attack. She went into kidney failure. Her body was shutting down because it broke her. So you can only imagine what she is going through now, how we are all feeling now. And I'll only speak for myself, but Ruby and Kevin are not where my concern lies anymore. So it is difficult to have the blame put on us when these are not the actions of us. These are not the actions that we did. And I get people wanting to put blame somewhere. I do. They want to blame someone. There's only one person that could have helped, and he didn't. What he was doing all that time when him and Ruby were separated is beyond me. I will not let Ruby and Kevin and Connections and Jody take one more thing away from me. So you better believe I will continue to post, because if that is what tiny control I have left, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take control and do what I feel. It doesn't feel good to not know what's ahead. That is not a comforting feeling. I'm not even trying to find comfort at this point. I am focused on putting one foot in front of the other, 1 hour at a time, not even a day at a time, 1 hour at a time. I am focusing on what I can control, which is the environment that I have for my children. And that is the only thing that gets me up and out of bed every day, is my 4 children. So I will continue doing what I have always done, which is putting my kids and Joel first and helping in any way that I possibly can outside of that. I am not my sister. I am not my sister's mistakes.
Okay, calm down. I'm sorry, that ending sounded very rehearsed and very scripted. The rest of it sounded like, yeah, it sounded okay, got the points across that you wanted to get across, and it garnered a little bit of sympathy from me, so, you know, job done. But the end just sounded a little bit, a bit off to me, I'm sorry. But yeah, as I said, her sister Julie was the next one to come out and put her point across. Here's the rest of it. I've already included a few clips in this video, but the rest of it is here.
I'm speaking today about my sister Ruby Franke, who was arrested a few weeks ago for child abuse. By now, you probably know that. You also probably have seen my sister Bonnie's video. I was about to post a video yesterday or today and just couldn't bring myself to do it. I've been trying to gather my thoughts for several weeks, and I don't think I'm ever going to have my thoughts completely put together here because it's involved so many people. There's so many little details. I am not going to be a news update. I will not update you on news. I will not give all of the little nitty-gritty details. I know I don't need to sit here and defend myself. I know I don't need to go into the history of what has happened. So we'll see where this goes. And
so I didn't actually like the tone of the start of this video. It was very much like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be this for you. I'm not going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you the news. I'm not going to tell you what's going on in the case. I'm not going to do this. And yeah, the rest of it did improve, fortunately, after that for her, because she wasn't coming across very well at the beginning.
But the past few weeks have been extremely hard. Not only did all that happen with Ruby, but I had just moved to a new state, and Landon had to go back to Utah to finish up his dissertation for his degree, and so I've been settling into a new home with the kids without his help, and all of this fell down. So I literally have not had the physical or emotional capacity to address anyone, nor do I need to address anyone, but here we are.
Again, sorry, I said it does get better, and it does, but right now it doesn't. She does need to address people, I feel, before she starts to continue with you know, filming her kids for money. I think that addressing the situation at least is probably the least that she needs to do.
3 years ago, Ruby, everything was great. It seemed to be fine anyway. We were a typical family. She was getting some therapy counseling because their family needed it, which I think is great. However, I think you need to get it from a great source. Read the reviews. Jody Hildebrandt and her website or therapy style, I don't know what you want to call it, connections, was not a great resource. And we all saw it. We all felt weird about this Jody lady. We weren't comfortable with it. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teachings Ruby was bringing to the family functions, and we were this close to telling her, if you come to our family events anymore, we do not want to hear what you were learning through connections because we don't like it. We never did say that to her, but we thought it. Anyway, so 3 years ago, Ruby and I hung out bottling tomatoes, and then a few weeks later, crap hit the fan and she left the family. And she didn't even call me to say, hey, you know, Julie, you're doing this and this, and I don't like it. You're living your life in distortion, so I'm gonna have to take some time away from you. No, literally nothing. She did call my mom and yelled at my mom on the phone for 45 minutes and accused her of things that were not true. It was almost as if Ruby had been making up memories from her childhood. She was trying to grab at anything she could, and she would exaggerate on everything. So she started all of her lies back then, lying to everyone in her life, getting rid of all of her friends and family, and I literally had no contact with her. She wouldn't respond to any texts or emails over the time that I tried reaching out to her. Never got a response from her. So I was very fortunate to have been able to reach out to her daughter Sherry once she was an adult, and we were able to form a really close, strong relationship, which I am grateful for. And it was then that I learned more about Ruby, and it was then that Sherry had learned about lies that had been told to her. I feel like me and my other sisters have said, we feel like we've just been kind of floating on a cloud here these past few weeks. we are in complete shock still as to what she had done, because we had no idea of what was happening. Basically, I'm here to say that I had no idea what was happening. Like Bonnie mentioned in her video, we are not going to let Ruby destroy another thing in our lives. We have our platforms where we try and bring brightness and positivity into other people's lives, and that is why we didn't talk about Ruby in our content for the past 3 years. Yeah, we try and show the highs and lows of everyday family and parenting, but Ruby's topic was not supposed to be part of that content, and it was none of your business. It was nothing that we needed to talk about, and I wasn't sure if her kids were maybe still watching these videos, and I didn't want to be not tactful and slander their mom and then have them watch those videos. That didn't sound like a nice thing to do either, and so that is another reason why we didn't talk about the subject of Ruby for the past few years on my channel. However, as far as my platforms go, I do want to continue them, but the content will probably look a little bit different. I have some pre-recorded videos before all of this fell apart that I will be posting, and then after those videos, I will probably just shift my content a little bit, and it'll be a little different, but I will still be here posting probably once a week instead of twice a week like I had been. And I hope you guys stick around. Those followers who have been following me for years saw past all of this. You are here to support and love no matter what. The people who came here to my comment section with negativity and attack were probably people that didn't even know who we were, and so I know not to take offense to all of that, even though it was still really hard to see and hear all of the negativity. So if you have been a long-time viewer and you have stuck around, thank you so much for your love and support, and if you are new to my channel, welcome.
So yeah, there we go. There are two of Ruby's sisters, and they have told their side of the story. Bonnie for the second time, but Julie for the first time there. We just need to hear from Ellie, and then we're good to go, right? So overall, yeah, I agree with their points of view. I think that they didn't have the option or the chance to get the kids out of that situation that they were in, and they possibly did all they could. Now, throwing Kevin under the bus was an unexpected surprise, shall we say, and yeah, I think that was an interesting move, and one which will probably shift the focus from themselves, but probably rightly so. So let me know all your thoughts down below. What do you think about this situation, and do you agree with them? Until next time, give this video a massive thumbs up and subscribe if you are brand new, of course, because I'll bring you the latest and greatest news as we get it. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and bye-bye.